What they had done was leave behind something that was so stupendous, so monstrously impressive.
Making the annual pilgrimage to the River Jordan.
Has been the cradle of civilization in West Asia. The river has been the lifeline for millions.
In a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, an alarming revelation shook the world. The Jordan River has dried up. Once a lifeline for civilizations, its disappearance unveils a chilling truth. As water levels plummet, ancient secrets hidden beneath its surface emerge, hinting at a terrifying fate. Join us as we explore the causes and implications of this unprecedented event and uncover the eerie mysteries lurking in the dry bed of the Jordan River. Let's go. Historical overview of the Jordan River. The Jordan River, one of the most significant waterways in the Middle East, is much more than a mere geographical feature. It is a symbol that flows through the pages of history, culture, and religion. Mentioned in religious texts and revered for its historical significance, the river has shaped Middle Eastern politics and society for thousands of years. Even Joe Rogan couldn't hide his surprise when recent revelations about the river's alarming decline came to light on his podcast. In ancient times, the Jordan River served as a boundary and lifeline for the people of the region. Its strategic position between modern-day Israel, Jordan, and the Palestinian territories made it crucial for trade, agriculture, and military campaigns. For millennia, civilizations thrived on its banks, drawing sustenance from its waters and spiritual inspiration from its currents. The river first appears prominently in the Bible, marking pivotal moments in the religious narratives of Christianity and Judaism. It was here that the Israelites, led by Joshua, crossed into the Promised Land after their exodus from Egypt. The Bible describes the waters parting as the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant stepped into the river, enabling the Israelites to cross on dry ground, in Joshua 3:15-17. This miraculous crossing echoes the earlier parting of the Red Sea under Moses, solidifying the Jordan River's place in Jewish tradition. But the Jordan River is perhaps most famous as the site where John the Baptist baptized Jesus Christ, according to the New Testament. This event, described in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, made the river a sacred place for Christians worldwide. Every year, thousands of pilgrims travel to the Yardenit baptismal site near the southern tip of the Sea of Galilee, seeking a spiritual connection to the waters where Jesus was baptized. In Islamic tradition, the Jordan River is also significant. It is associated with various prophets, and Muslims believe that the Jordan Valley, where the river flows, is blessed. The Quran refers to the region surrounding the river as a blessed land in Surah Al-Anbiya 21:71. The reverence for this ancient waterway extends across faiths, binding communities together through shared respect. But what could be the fate of such a historic and vital river that is now dwindling before our eyes? Could the Jordan River really dry up, threatening not only its spiritual legacy, but also the lives of millions who depend on it? Beyond its religious importance, the Jordan River has been a vital resource for agriculture and sustenance. In the Bronze Age, Canaanite and Amorite cities flourished in the Jordan Valley, benefiting from the river's reliable water supply. Later, during the reign of King David and King Solomon, the United Kingdom of Israel controlled the region, utilizing the river for irrigation and trade. The river's significance persisted through the Roman period. The city of Jericho, known as the City of Palms, became an important hub due to its proximity to the Jordan River. Roman engineers constructed sophisticated irrigation systems that expanded agricultural production in the Jordan Valley. The Roman-era Herod's Palace in Jericho and the grand baths at the Palace of Hisham prove the wealth and prosperity brought by the river. In medieval times, the Crusaders recognized the river's spiritual and strategic value, building castles and fortresses near its banks, such as the Belvoir Fortress overlooking the Sea of Galilee. Their presence solidified the Jordan River's role as a crucial boundary in the religious and military conflicts of the time. Fast forward to the 20th century, the Jordan River again took center stage, this time in the context of geopolitics. The early Zionist movement recognized the river's potential, and in 1922, the British Mandate incorporated its waters into regional development plans. During this time, the Jewish National Fund and Zionist settlers launched extensive irrigation projects, channeling water from the Jordan to support agriculture in new settlements. In 1955, the Jordan River became the focal point of the Johnston Plan, an ambitious U.S.-mediated water-sharing proposal. The plan sought to allocate water resources from the Jordan Basin among Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. Although never formally ratified, the Johnston Plan established a framework for water sharing that influenced subsequent agreements. The river's strategic importance was further highlighted during the Six-Day War in 1967, when Israel seized control of the West Bank, including the entire western bank of the Jordan River. This territorial change cemented the river's role as a political boundary, delineating the border between Israel and Jordan. Despite its geopolitical significance, the Jordan River remained a crucial water resource for millions of people in the region. Its waters irrigated vast swaths of farmland, supporting agriculture in Israel, Jordan, and the Palestinian territories. The crops grown along its banks, wheat, barley, olives, dates, citrus fruits, and vegetables, formed the backbone of local economies. In the 1994 Israel-Jordan Peace Treaty, water was a critical issue. The treaty established mutual cooperation between the two nations, with Israel agreeing to supply Jordan with 50 million cubic meters of water annually from the Sea of Galilee, replenishing the Jordan River downstream. This agreement reaffirmed the river's importance in maintaining regional stability. Yet despite the historical and contemporary significance of the Jordan River, there have been ominous signs that its future is at risk. Over the past century, geopolitical tensions, rapid population growth, and industrial development have begun to strain its once mighty flow. Could the river that has been a lifeline for civilizations for millennia be facing an existential threat? Current state of the Jordan River. It's a shocking revelation that left even Joe Rogan astounded on his podcast. The Jordan River, the sacred waterway that has flowed through the heart of the Middle East for millennia, is now reduced to just a trickle of its former glory. Recent studies reveal that the Jordan River's flow levels are a mere shadow of their historical averages. What once was a mighty river supporting ancient civilizations, spiritual pilgrimages, and lush agricultural lands has shrunk by over 90% compared to the early 20th century. In the 1930s, the Jordan River's annual discharge stood at around 1.3 billion cubic meters. Today, its flow has diminished to less than 100 million cubic meters, a dramatic decline largely attributed to extensive water diversion and over-extraction. The once powerful current that fed the Sea of Galilee has now been reduced to a slow-moving, heavily polluted stream. A primary culprit of the river's depletion is the diversion of water for agricultural and domestic use. Israel, Syria, and Jordan have built dams and extensive irrigation systems to tap into the river's tributaries, such as the Yarmouk River and the Sea of Galilee. This has left the Jordan River starved of its natural inflow. For instance, Israel's national water carrier, constructed in 1964, diverts water from the Sea of Galilee to supply its central and southern regions. Similarly, Syria and Jordan have also siphoned off water from the Yarmouk River, severely impacting the Jordan River's downstream flow. In addition to diversion, the river's pollution levels have skyrocketed. Untreated wastewater from Israeli settlements, Palestinian towns, and Jordanian communities along the riverbanks is discharged directly into the river. Industrial waste and agricultural runoff, including fertilizers and pesticides, further degrade the river's water quality. As a result, the once pristine waters are now laden with pollutants, endangering aquatic life and rendering the river unfit for human consumption or religious rituals. But what are the ecological consequences of this dramatic decline? The Jordan River Valley was once a thriving ecosystem, home to rich biodiversity. The wetlands along its banks supported migratory birds, amphibians, and various fish species. However, the reduction in water flow has devastated these habitats. Wetlands like the Hula Valley have nearly disappeared, and native fish populations have plummeted due to increased salinity and pollution. A poignant example of the river's ecological impact is the Dead Sea, which lies at the river's southern terminus. The Dead Sea, known for its therapeutic mineral-rich waters, has been shrinking at an alarming rate of over 1 meter per year. The receding waterline has exposed large swaths of previously submerged land and created massive sinkholes along its shores. The primary reason for this is the drastic reduction in water inflow from the Jordan River, which now contributes only a fraction of what it once did. Aside from ecological impacts, the shrinking Jordan River has also affected local communities and religious practices. The Yardenit baptismal site, a popular destination for Christian pilgrims seeking to be baptized in the same waters as Jesus, now receives water diverted directly from the Sea of Galilee. The original baptismal site at Qasr al-Yahud, near Jericho, remains accessible but is heavily polluted and subject to fluctuating water levels. The Jordan River, which has been a witness to millennia of human history, now faces an uncertain future. Its reduced flow, ecological devastation, and geopolitical tensions cast a shadow over its survival. The river's plight is a stark reminder of the delicate balance between nature and human activity, and a call to action for those who wish to see it flow freely once again. Major causes of the drying up. It's a shocking revelation that had even Joe Rogan stunned on his podcast. The Jordan River, once a vital lifeline of the Middle East and a spiritual symbol for millions, is now drying up at an alarming rate. Recent studies have revealed that the river's historic flow has dwindled to less than 10% of what it once was. But what's behind this catastrophic decline? Climate change is undeniably one of the key drivers. Average temperatures in the region have risen by over 1.5 degrees Celsius in the past century, and rainfall has decreased by around 20% in the same period. The combination of higher temperatures and reduced rainfall has had a devastating impact on the Jordan River. Rising temperatures increase evaporation rates, meaning that less water reaches the river through surface runoff and underground springs. Simultaneously, prolonged droughts have drastically reduced the amount of water flowing from the river's tributaries. Even the once powerful Yarmouk River, a major tributary that contributed significantly to the Jordan River's flow, has seen its discharge reduced to a fraction of its historical average. The decline in rainfall has left the river's catchment areas parched, and melting snowcaps in the northern mountains no longer provide a reliable supply. But climate change is not the only culprit. The over-extraction of water for agriculture, industry, and domestic use has significantly contributed to the river's decline. In Israel, the national water carrier diverts significant volumes of water from the Sea of Galilee for irrigation and drinking purposes. This has drastically reduced the natural flow of the Jordan River, as the Sea of Galilee was historically its primary source. Jordan and Syria have also built dams and irrigation networks along the Yarmouk River and other tributaries. In Syria, the construction of the Al-Wada Dam has severely restricted the Yarmouk River's contribution to the Jordan River downstream. In Jordan, groundwater extraction has increased as farmers drill deeper wells to meet their irrigation needs. The agricultural sector consumes nearly 70% of the region's water, and inefficient irrigation practices exacerbate the problem. Flood irrigation, which involves flooding entire fields, is still prevalent in the region despite being highly wasteful. Drip irrigation, a more efficient method that delivers water directly to plant roots, is not widely adopted due to the high cost of installation. Domestic water use also adds to the river's depletion. The burgeoning populations of Israel, Jordan, and the Palestinian territories all rely on the Jordan River basin for drinking water. In Jordan, the refugee influx from Syria has placed immense pressure on the country's already scarce water resources. The population of Jordan has nearly doubled since 2011, with over 1 million Syrian refugees now living in the country. Furthermore, rapid urbanization and industrialization have led to pollution levels rising to unprecedented heights. Untreated wastewater from Israeli settlements, Palestinian towns, and Jordanian communities flows directly into the river. increasing the concentration of nitrates and other harmful chemicals. Industrial waste from factories and agricultural runoff containing fertilizers and pesticides have further degraded water quality. The stretch of the Jordan River south of the Sea of Galilee is particularly polluted. In the past, the river's flow was strong enough to dilute pollutants and flush them downstream. However, the drastic reduction in water flow has left the pollutants concentrated, creating a toxic mix that has devastated the river's ecosystem. Ultimately, the Jordan River's plight is a stark reminder of the delicate balance between human activity and nature. Its future depends on a coordinated regional response that recognizes the river's importance not just as a water resource, but as a symbol of cooperation and shared heritage. 4. Environmental and wildlife impact. What exactly is happening to the Jordan River, and how is it affecting the delicate balance of life that once thrived along its banks? Stretching over 250 kilometers from its source in the Golan Heights to its mouth at the Dead Sea, the river flows through diverse landscapes, from the lush wetlands near Lake Hula to the arid Jordan Valley. Historically, the river supported extensive wetlands, riparian forests, and a rich array of wildlife. Today, the dramatic reduction in water flow, pollution, and habitat loss have pushed many of these ecosystems to the brink. The Hula Valley wetlands, located in northern Israel near the river's headwaters, were once a lush haven for migratory birds traveling between Europe and Africa. Before the 1950s, this region was a biodiverse paradise, home to hundreds of bird species, amphibians, and fish. However, in an ill-conceived move to control malaria and expand agricultural land, the wetlands were drained in the 1950s, leading to catastrophic ecological consequences. The drainage resulted in the extinction of several species, including the hula painted frog, once thought to be lost forever, but rediscovered in 2011. Further downstream, the Jordan River's ecological challenges have only worsened. Wetlands that once spanned hundreds of square kilometers have shrunk drastically due to the decline in water flow. Reduced inflow from the river has left marshes and riparian forests parched, depriving migratory birds of crucial stopover sites. BirdLife International has documented a sharp decline in populations of species such as the white stork, Eurasian spoonbill, and glossy ibis, which once relied on these wetlands during their long migrations. The drying of the river has also altered the chemical composition of its waters, making them inhospitable to native fish species. Increased salinity due to reduced freshwater inflow and pollution from untreated sewage and agricultural runoff have devastated fish populations. The Jordan barb, or Barbus longiceps, a native fish species, has nearly disappeared from the river, replaced by more resilient but invasive species like tilapia. Aquatic life isn't the only victim. The degradation of riparian forests along the riverbanks has led to the decline of various terrestrial species as well. The Jordan Valley once boasted a rich diversity of mammals, including the gazelle, caracal, and striped hyena. However, habitat loss due to reduced river flow and agricultural expansion has forced many of these species to retreat to less disturbed areas, leaving the riverbanks eerily devoid of life. The crisis extends all the way to the Dead Sea, the river's terminal basin. Historically, the Jordan River supplied over 1 billion cubic meters of water annually to the Dead Sea, helping to maintain its delicate balance. Today, with the river's flow reduced to less than 100 million cubic meters, the Dead Sea is shrinking at an alarming rate of over 1 meter per year. This rapid decline has exposed vast salt flats and created thousands of sinkholes along the shore, some as wide as 10 meters. These sinkholes have rendered large areas uninhabitable and have forced the closure of several nearby tourist resorts. The ecological collapse of the Dead Sea has also affected the unique species that depend on its mineral-rich waters. The lake is home to extremophilic microorganisms that thrive in its high salinity environment. Scientists have noticed a decline in their populations, which could have significant implications for understanding extremophile biology. Moreover, the shrinking Dead Sea has drastically reduced its mineral deposits, threatening the potash and mineral extraction industries that rely on these resources. This environmental crisis isn't just confined to wildlife and ecosystems, it has real implications for the people who depend on the Jordan River. Many local communities rely on the river for fishing, agriculture, and tourism. As fish populations dwindle and water quality deteriorates, livelihoods have been severely impacted. Take, for instance, the fishing community of Al-Auja, a Palestinian village in the West Bank. Fishermen here used to catch ample amounts of native fish, like the Jordan barb and catfish. Today, with fish stocks depleted and the river polluted, many have abandoned fishing altogether. The river has become so polluted that sometimes we can barely stand the smell, says Youssef, a former fisherman turned taxi driver. We grew up here, but now it's hard to imagine a future. Farmers along the Jordanian side of the river are also feeling the heat. The reduced water flow has led to increasing salinity levels in irrigation water, which has affected crop yields. Abu Ibrahim, a farmer near Deir Allah, lamented, "The water is too salty for my tomatoes. I had to switch to barley, but even that's not growing well." In Israel, efforts to rehabilitate the river have focused on restoring natural water flows and improving water quality. The Israeli government has allocated millions of shekels to projects aimed at treating sewage and reducing agricultural runoff into the river. However, the river's restoration is complicated by the political tensions in the region. The ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the Syrian civil war have made it difficult to coordinate regional conservation efforts. Despite these efforts, the river's future remains uncertain. The alarming rate of habitat loss, pollution, and geopolitical challenges presents a monumental challenge. As the river continues to shrink, can the nations of the Middle East come together to save this ancient waterway and the biodiversity it supports? Geopolitical and legal framework. Navigating the murky waters of the Jordan River's geopolitics reveals a complex tapestry of treaties, conflicts, and legal frameworks that have shaped the river's destiny and the fate of the nations that rely on it. This river, so vital to regional stability, has been at the heart of a century-long dispute over water rights, a dispute intensified by political tensions and the pressing need for water security in one of the driest regions on Earth. First, let's delve into the Johnston Plan, an ambitious attempt from the 1950s to equitably distribute the waters of the Jordan River among the riparian states, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. Initiated by the United States and spearheaded by Special Envoy Eric Johnston, this plan proposed detailed allocations of water from the Jordan River and its major tributaries to each country involved. The plan was never formally ratified due to political disagreements, particularly from the Arab League, which objected to cooperating with Israel in the midst of the Arab-Israeli conflict. However, the technical allocations suggested in the Johnston Plan have served as a de facto basis for water sharing to this day. Why then, with such a detailed plan in place, does the Jordan River still spark so much conflict? The answer lies in the complex interplay of international law, national interests, and the geopolitical landscape. For instance, the Israel-Jordan Peace Treaty of 1994, which is often hailed as a model for cooperation, included significant provisions concerning water sharing. Under this treaty, Israel agreed to supply Jordan with 50 million cubic meters of water annually from the Jordan River, and an additional 10 million cubic meters from the Yarmouk River, addressing Jordan's chronic water shortages. This treaty also allowed for the establishment of a joint water committee to manage shared water resources, setting a precedent for cooperation on water issues in the region. However, despite these agreements, the implementation has been fraught with complications. Political tensions, particularly the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, have often hindered full cooperation. The West Bank, for example, remains a contentious area where water resources are severely limited. Palestinians have limited control over their water resources due to restrictions and the complex management regime imposed by the Israeli authorities. The Oslo Accords of 1995 attempted to address these issues by allocating water resources and responsibilities, but disputes over water rights continue to fuel tensions. Moreover, the situation is exacerbated by Syria's absence from the peace treaty and its ongoing internal conflict, which complicates regional water management. Syria's construction of dams on the Yarmouk River, which significantly reduces the flow reaching Jordan and Israel, is a point of contention. Each country's unilateral actions to secure water resources for its population, often without regional coordination, have led to reduced flows and increased pollution in the Jordan River. But what happens when international law meets national sovereignty? The international legal framework governing transboundary watercourses, such as the UN Watercourses Convention, emphasizes equitable and reasonable utilization and obligates states to prevent significant harm to other states sharing the watercourse. Yet the enforcement of these principles is challenging without full cooperation and agreement among all parties involved. This legal and diplomatic maze raises a crucial question. Can nations dependent on the Jordan River navigate their disputes and manage this vital resource sustainably? Recent restoration efforts and international collaborations have now sparked optimism that this vital river can be saved. In November 2022, at the COP27 climate conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, Israel and Jordan signed a landmark bilateral agreement to rehabilitate the Jordan River. The deal aims to restore and preserve the river's ecosystem by improving water quality, reducing pollution, and creating nature reserves. Both nations pledged to cooperate on wastewater treatment, controlling agricultural runoff, and establishing tourist and heritage sites. Although details of the agreement remain vague, it represents a significant step towards regional cooperation and environmental stewardship. EcoPeace Middle East, a regional NGO that has long advocated for cross-border cooperation, hailed the agreement as a critical climate adaptation measure. They estimate that restoring the river could recover up to 50% of the biodiversity lost over the last few decades due to pollution and freshwater diversion. Gidon Bromberg, EcoPeace's Israeli director, noted that this initiative is crucial not only for wildlife, but also for strengthening regional resilience to growing water scarcity. One of the most notable rehabilitation projects is an 11-kilometer stretch of the Jordan River entirely within Israeli territory. The Kinneret Drainage and Streams Authority has been leading this effort, working with the Israeli government and local councils to restore water flow, clean up pollutants, and create nature reserves and parks. The Israel Nature and Parks Authority is set to declare this section a national park, opening it to the public for free. New saplings have been planted along the riverbanks, paths for otters have been created, and ancient archaeological sites are being transformed into visitor attractions. However, rehabilitation efforts must go beyond borders. The Good Water Neighbors Project, another EcoPeace initiative, has brought together communities from Israel, Jordan, and Palestine to promote water conservation and cross-border collaboration. By building mutual understanding and fostering dialogue between neighbors, EcoPeace aims to create a shared sense of ownership and responsibility for the Jordan River. Beyond community initiatives and international agreements, modern water management techniques and technologies are being explored to ease pressure on the Jordan River and its tributaries. Desalination, wastewater treatment, and advanced irrigation methods are some of the key strategies in play. Israel, a leader in desalination technology, has 5 large-scale desalination plants along its Mediterranean coast that produce nearly 600 million cubic meters of freshwater annually. This has significantly reduced the country's dependence on the Sea of Galilee and the Jordan River for drinking water. By 2030, Israel aims to increase desalination capacity to supply over 1 billion cubic meters annually. Meanwhile, Jordan is exploring similar technology to meet its growing water needs. The Aqaba desalination plant, planned near the Red Sea port city, will provide fresh water to Amman and other regions facing severe water shortages. Wastewater treatment is another critical component of water management. Israel currently treats over 90% of its wastewater, with about 80% being reused for agriculture. This approach not only reduces pollution, but also alleviates pressure on freshwater resources. The West Bank and Jordan have also been investing in wastewater treatment plants, although the infrastructure remains less developed. In Jericho, a new wastewater treatment facility funded by the German government is helping reduce pollution entering the Jordan River from Palestinian towns. The Red Sea-Dead Sea Canal, a project first proposed in the 1980s, has finally gained traction as a means to replenish the shrinking Dead Sea while providing desalinated water to Jordan, Israel, and the Palestinian territories. The project involves building a 180-kilometer canal to pump seawater from the Red Sea to the Dead Sea, generating hydroelectric power to fuel a desalination plant. The leftover brine would be discharged into the Dead Sea, helping to stabilize its water levels. While the plan is ambitious and has faced criticism over potential environmental impacts, proponents argue that it is vital for the region's long-term water security. Modern irrigation techniques like drip irrigation are also being promoted to reduce water consumption in agriculture. Israel's Netafim, a global leader in drip irrigation technology, has helped farmers across the Jordan Valley increase yields while reducing water usage. Drip irrigation delivers water directly to plant roots through a network of pipes, reducing evaporation and runoff. In Jordan, the Ministry of Agriculture has partnered with international organizations to provide subsidies and training to farmers adopting this method. The role of local communities cannot be overstated. Grassroots movements and local non-governmental organizations are critical in driving change from the ground up. Community-led projects that focus on river cleanup, water conservation, and sustainable agriculture can have profound impacts. Moreover, educating local populations about the importance of the river and ways to protect it can foster a culture of conservation and respect for this vital resource. But despite these promising efforts, challenges remain. Political tensions, particularly the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, often complicate regional cooperation. Access to water resources in the West Bank is limited, and disputes over drilling permits and infrastructure development continue to hinder progress. Syria, embroiled in a prolonged civil war, has not been part of recent diplomatic efforts, and its dams on the Yarmouk River continue to impact downstream flow. Furthermore, climate change threatens to exacerbate water scarcity in the region. Rising temperatures and prolonged droughts have already reduced rainfall by 20% and increased evaporation rates. Without urgent action, the Jordan River's restoration could face significant setbacks. The future scenarios for the Jordan River are diverse and depend largely on the effectiveness of current and future interventions. With concerted international effort, robust funding, forward-thinking policies, and community engagement, the river can be restored to its former vitality. This would not only benefit the ecosystems and communities that directly depend on it, but also serve as a beacon of successful international cooperation and environmental stewardship. Outro, thanks for watching another episode. Click the next video on your screen for more.